Good morning, traders. This is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar, so I want to welcome you all back, and we're going to go ahead and get started on our analysis this morning. All right, so like I said, the problem that the euro had with this last move down, if you missed it, is that we hit new lows, relative strength is diverging, and so what I would I think we need to pay attention to right now is, and we're gonna see if any fib um, um, extensions meet up with this. But what I think we're dealing with here is a downsloping channel that looks something like this. Okay, which makes sense. But what I'd like to find out is, okay, at what point do we actually hit a strong support level? Okay, so if you go back and let's take actually a bigger view. Okay, so you can see we're at the daily chart. Okay, obviously we have support, key support down here at 104.50. I mean, that's obvious. Okay, but let's see if we even have support ahead of that. Okay, so if you take the low of this range, okay, see the spike low here, support right here, and then this high. Okay, you'll notice that ahead of the 104.50 level, okay, we have this 127% extension that comes into play. That comes into play at 105.60. Now, that means a lot to me. 127% extensions and 161% extensions are very important fib levels to me. They really are. The fib extensions are very important, especially on these big moves when you start talking like daily or weekly trends. So what that means is that as we make an approach down to 105.60, I'm assuming buyers are going to be there. Now, does that mean that's going to ultimately hold us? Probably not, but this is going to be a place where if we make it down to today, I would be looking for a reversal. So in other words, if we see levels that coincide with this 105.60 level, that is going to be pretty, in my opinion, it's going to be pretty big support. That means if you're short, you might look for to cover some shorts up there or down there rather. If you're looking for a place for a counter trend trade, that might be a decent place. You have to also keep in mind all the data that we have today. Today is like a big data dump day, excuse me, for the U.S. We have durable goods, personal spending, personal income. We've got unemployment claims, new home sales, consumer sentiment, inflation expectations, crude oil inventories, house price index, services PMI. We got a crap load of data coming out today, and they're laying it all on us. Obviously ahead of the long weekend. So with that being said, we could have some data that comes in a little stronger, pushes us down to that support. But I think this is going to be key support. So if you're saying, well, support's going to be the low of the day, or the low of the session down here. At this 105.80, I think you have to look a little bit lower than that. Okay, so support will be 1.0560, and that, in my opinion, is going to be major support. Okay, it's going to be major support if we get down there. Let's take a look at resistance. So, all right, so where are we going to find good resistance? And Lorenz says it's a falling wedge. I don't necessarily agree with you. I don't know if it's a falling wedge. If this right here was more of a wedge, I'd be a little bit more bullish, but we're nowhere near an apex here. And if this is a descending wedge, it's not at a very rapid rate. Okay. Now, if we were doing something like this, I would have a little bit different. I'd have a little bit different tone. If we had some spikes higher here, lower, 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 and the apex was really tightening, I'd be in the camp that, man, this thing's probably about ready to reverse. But what I think is happening is we're in this really crappy downsloping channel here, and which means that if we break above this resistance today or tomorrow, over the holiday, which could happen, um, the highs are going to be fairly limited, or the rally is going to be fairly limited. So that's just my opinion. And again, this trend line I don't think is going to be as important because of how the lows are being formed down here. But anyway, what I do, whoops, didn't want to zoom that far out. Okay, so what I do want to pay attention though is today. Okay, and what we've got here. This, you can see this support that cracked. That right now is going to be really tough resistance for the market to get back above. All right, especially for today. All right, so if let's just say the data that comes out today is all really crappy data, which you looked at the data yesterday, it didn't really produce much of dollar weakness, right? We had it just didn't. But let's say that the data is relatively weak, and we actually get some dollar weakness today. Any type of upside in the euro is probably going to be capped right there. Okay, it's going to be capped right there on any rally back up to 106.50. All right, and I think if you're looking for shorts, that's probably not a bad place to be on the short side. We still have a bearish bias. Okay, let's go over to the cable. So the pound is getting a little bit of a rally back because really if you look at the moves that have happened overnight are all euro. Okay, so the cable just kind of was going down in sympathy, but as the euro finally found some support, the pound popped up too. But you notice that the pound found really significant support down here and has not hit new lows. All right, so I'm going to go back out to the daily chart and let's note a few things. Okay, so first of all, I think we can get rid of that line. We can get rid of that line right now, and we'll take this. That was at the previous 786. Let me remove that. Okay. Where we're stalling at is the 88% retracement, which is a very minor fib level. But we made a higher low. Interesting. All right. So now that resistance there has become pretty important because you can see, support, resistance, okay, support. That's going to be really tough on the way up, but if we can break it, 151, let's just call it 151.15, and this is 150.55. That's our range right now, and we'll probably break out of that range today, I'm assuming. 150.55, 151.15. If we can break above that 151.15, it will take some of the bearish pressure off of the cable. But the cable is still, overall, it's still trading pretty heavy. Okay. Let's go over to the Swissy. So here's the Swissy. And so you notice how we hit new highs, brief new highs. Okay. Now we have major resistance. I can't overemphasize enough the resistance that we have right here. That resistance comes in at 102.39, what's 102.40. That is really critical resistance. I'm assuming it's going to give way at some point. Oh, UK GDP forecast raised to 2.4% versus 2.3%. Just to let you guys know. That comes from Osborne. Hold on, that's probably what's helping the cable right now. Well, it's helping us off the lows a little bit. Hasn't really helped it that much, though. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, going back to the Swissy. So obviously, 102.40 is just major resistance for the Swissy. You have to be careful here that it's just like the euro. We're pushing into brief new highs. Relative strength is really divergent. Channel support. You see, every time we come towards this channel, we just come in just a little shy, and I did not buy this Swissy, unfortunately, as we came close to here. I wasn't around. We were down there last night, but see, it's really well supported. That means these lows right here. Here, let me get rid of that. Let me just take this and move. Those lows are so important now for support. That comes in at 101, basically 101.45. And resistance is 1.0240, and that is major resistance, and still in a very bullish trend. All right, let's go over to the dollar yen. Now the dollar yen has seen obviously some dollar bounce, and with equities strong, the dollar yen finally lifted off this support, which is unfortunate because I'm still short the dollar yen. But you can see we held that support really well. We were there last night. I glanced at my phone when I was at the concert last night, and just before I was filming my son sing, he wasn't doing any solo. Because his singing is about as atrocious as my singing, so you can only imagine. But just before he started singing, I looked down and I looked at my quotes, and we were really close to support, and I'm like, I wonder if we're going to break. And then, I was stuck with family the rest of the night. Didn't really pay much attention. Anyway, you can see how important that support was and how it held. Let's see, 122.20, obviously really big resistance, or really big support, excuse me, 122. I think we had 22.20, right? That's what we probably had written yesterday. What was our low overnight? 25. I guess we should probably just write 25. That held. Resistance. And by the way, I just sold some more dollar yen because I knew it was up against resistance here. But let's see. Let's be a little bit more specific about that resistance, because remember the 122.70 level that was holding. Okay, but let's check something out here. 50% retracement is 122.75. Give it a little bit more room to 122.87. We might get up there with any type of dollar, especially if it's strong dollar data, like supportive for a dollar rally. 122.87 is possible. I don't think it's going to be any problem. I'm just going to put 122.90 as resistance. Range environment. Let's go over to the Canadian. All right, so here's the Canadian. Now, look at the trendline support that we wrote down yesterday, okay, that we drew yesterday. I did not. I was really off my dollar game yesterday. I was. So just so you guys know, my wife's sick and she's got nearly 102-degree temperature. All right, and which is it's a shame because we have family in town, and so she's not doing well. Um, I wasn't able to be as active in the markets as I normally am, especially in the evenings because I was handling a lot of different things. Um, so with that being said, I missed a lot of stuff, and the dollar Canadian is one of them. And yes, I missed my exit on the euro pound last night. I got stopped out of the euro New Zealand. It was really kind of a crap show, if you will, but because I just wasn't able to tend to the markets. But anyway, yeah, you can see the dollar Canadian. We came right to that support. I hope some of you got long the dollar Canadian off of that. Now, what that does is it really solidifies how important the support is. Okay, what that means is 132.80 is massive support. If broken, 132.80. If broken, that's going to be really tough for the dollar Canadian. Okay, it's going to be a really, really tough breakdown for the dollar Canadian. Okay, resistance at this stage in the game, I would guess, is probably up towards 134, but we'll see. Let's see here. Let's go over to an hourly. See, we have to go with the running assumption that breaks, while we're here. So, Greg says that was the autumn statement from Chancellor Osborne. Thank you very much, Greg. All right, that's good to know right here. 133.75. That's a 786 retracement. So that means that any move up there to that spike high is going to be significant resistance. If you guys want to short the dollar Canadian, I think that's the place to do it, personally. So if the dollar rallies, you do like that, okay? 133.75. I think that's going to be good resistance today. We're in a range. Thanks, John. Thanks, Randall. Yeah, I hope she gets better. Well, I mean, I'm sure she'll get better. I just hope she gets better soon. The problem is it's a Thanksgiving holiday, and we've got family in town. I'm doing all the cooking tonight. I'm gonna have to. We're doing like pre-Thanksgiving over at our house. We'll have like 20-some people here tonight. Fortunately, she's not cooking the big meal. It's just, it stinks, especially when you never want to be sick over the holidays. So that's the worst part of it all. Because like me, family is most important. She feels the same way. And not being able to spend that time with family, especially when they travel in, it's tough. All right, let's go over to the New Zealand dollar. Okay, so here's the New Zealand dollar, and Kiwi is it's actually had been holding up pretty well. I mean, this I think goes to show you. Here, let me remove. We know that how important this fib level is here. Okay, 618. Let's remove that really quick. Okay, that's 618, super important. That means that 64.90 again, and then 66 cents is going to be. Here, let's get rid of this too. I don't think we need all this stuff. 66 cents too is resistance. So I would assume even if we have some dollar weakness today, that's going to be really tough. This is going to be really good support. So I'm going to write down 166 and 164, or 0.6490 and 0.66, 66 cents, and I think you just have to trade in that range, at the extremes too, obviously. Um, Obviously, if we get up, towards resistance or down towards support, you probably just want to trade the ranges there. The Aussie. Okay, so the Aussie, I do have a long position in the Aussie dollar. Okay, I picked up more this morning as we dropped down to right where we're at 72.50. My cost average is 72.43. The Aussie is obviously trying to break out, but it got stopped up a little bit due to the it got stopped up due to the pullback in the euro. So obviously that dollar strength made its way through the market. Just kind of like stalled the Aussie, but overall, the Aussie's holding up pretty damn well. I mean, we're stair-stepping higher. I would assume at this point, while we're above this support, the chances of a further upside move are pretty good. All right. So that last move, relative strength was diverging too, which, just complicates things a little bit more. It's a lot of spikes up here towards 73 cents. You see it? See them all? Not only is it a 786 retracement, but you see a spike here, spike here, spike here, spike here. Really tough resistance at 73 cents. I just don't know if we're going to get all the way back down there. That's the thing. I mean, we're limited to 38% retracement thus far. So 50% retracement, which seems to be some level of contention up here. That means that any move back down to 72.20 probably be pretty well supported. 72.20, and then resistance being 0.7300. All right. And we're in a range, but we are threading to turn bullish. A lot of that has to do with, how the Aussie performs from here. All right, when we come back, we'll look at the dollar index. And I know it's at the 100 level, so obviously it's a big deal. And so just pay close attention to the dollar index. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. Hey, I also want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving. I know I don't have everybody here yet this morning, but happy Thanksgiving to you all. Because you're here is the reason why I broadcast. If you weren't here, I wouldn't broadcast, obviously. So thank you all for being here. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Even if you're not here in the United States, if you're in a different country, this is the time of year when we do give thanks for the things that we do have, and I give thanks to you. So I'll be back in a few moments. Don't go anywhere. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. We have the dollar index. We have the dollar index and the peso and everything else we're going to get to here in a second. I wanted to read a couple of things really quick from you guys, and I want to first of all say happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Especially, David, thanks for the Thanksgiving wish, and also Alan, Gary, other David. Susan writes in, I want to read this. She goes, although I mainly trade equities, listening to you has changed the way I trade enormously by learning your techniques for analysis, and I can't thank you enough. Best to you and your family over the holidays. Losing my father this year and my mother now being in hospice, hopefully we can all focus on the true meaning of the holidays, which gets lost so easily. And Susan, I'm so sorry for your losses. That's tough. I haven't experienced that myself. My wife, she lost her mother when she was 20. But you know, I haven't had to go through that experience. Although I did lose my grandfather this year and my grandmother 2 years ago, I haven't lost any of my parents, so I can't even imagine what you're going through. But yes, and that's the thing about Thanksgiving holiday. You know, we give thanks to to our family, our friends, what we have, and you know, this is the time where, you know, for us, I know at least our family, we spend as much quality time together as possible, and you know, that's for us. That's the meaning of Thanksgiving. So I appreciate you writing those comments. It's really really nice, and I'm glad that I can contribute to you know, the way you think and the way you trade, and I'm glad I'm making a difference. That's in I really appreciate that. So thank you, Susan. Dimitri says, hey Blake, I'm sorry to hear about your wife. Hope she gets well soon. Maybe singing the Kakarocha song would cheer her up. Take care and happy Thanksgiving. Thanks, Dimitri. And Octavio says, happy Thanksgiving to all. This is the time to thank all the blessing, challenges, and even the losses, because it is a part of life. Very true. All right, guys. John says, happy Blakesgiving. Thanks, John. All right, back to the analysis, everybody. So let's take a look at the dollar index. So the dollar index did hit the 100 mark. This is going to be, and I don't know why it looks like this right now, but I'll just zoom in like this. The 100 level obviously has given us, you know, a bit of resistance. Let me delete this fib. You know, that's a struggling point, and even though we broke above it, it's still the 100 level, any which way you slice it. So resistance is 100. And remember, support and resistance is not an exact science. It is a zone, an area. And so as we hit that resistance in the dollar index, it just because we're above it or at it doesn't mean that it's broken. You know, it's this area. This area is providing us a lot of upside resistance. What I'd like to do right now, though, is I'd like to clear out this chart. Let's see, remove all drawing tools. Okay, so I'm going to clear out that chart a little bit just so we can kind of see. It's kind of like the euro. You know how we were talking about the euro, about that upsloping channel. The dollar index feels the same way, doesn't it? It looks exactly the same here. So, which is good because, you know, hopefully, you know, for those of us that would actually ultimately like to be long the dollar, like to be long the dollar on an approach back down towards support. So, you know, at this stage in the game, support is back at 99. Now, that would be a pretty big move because if you think about what that would do for the euro, that would push the euro back to, you know, 107 or above. But I think that you want to look for a dip like that. I'm not saying that we're going to get it, but a dip back down to 99 cents would be great. I think we're going to find a lot of support before then, so don't get too excited about all this. So just this is the exact opposite of the euro. I mean, because the euro has been obviously the influencer here today. So any move back down to 99.55 is probably going to find support. That would be the equivalent of 106.50 in in the euro. Okay. All right. Yeah, Jordan says from the Swiss National Bank. He says the the hold on, let me read all the things that he has said this morning. Says interventions in the FX market were successful in weakening the Swiss franc, have been active, and there's no limit to the Swiss National Bank balance sheet, which, guys, just, that just further argues that we need to be long the dollar Swiss or short Swiss francs. Just, it's trying to find that right entry for me has been the challenging part. But okay, so there's the dollar index. Let's see, peso. So here's the peso. Look at how big this support is here. Now, if the market gets risk averse, the US dollar Mexican peso would bounce from here. This is a daily chart, but this thing looks like it wants to turn the corner, doesn't it? If you buy the peso, your risk is at 1643, period. Resistance is going to be up here at 1665. Okay. That's their risk right now. Okay, I'm just going to write it down. I don't know if it's a great entry right at this very moment in time, but oops. Support 1643. 1665, right? Yeah, okay. Let's go over to the Norwegian Krona. Thing is not breaking down. As bearish as you want to be, the US dollar Norwegian Krona, and think that it's going to break down, it's just not. Same thing with the Swedish Krona. Look at this thing. I mean, knocking her head right up against resistance. It's like, I want to buy them. I mean, but at the same time, they're right up against resistance. It's like, okay, well, if you want to short the US dollar Swedish Krona, this is your place to do it. Just put your stops above 880, because if it breaks above 880, it's gone. It's like history. I'm going to write down resistance here. It's hard to do. 877, 860, 880. I know this is support, right? So 8.78, 0.8000. That thing can turn bullish real quick. It could, real fast. I mean, look at the daily chart. Look at how bullish that thing is. Okay. All right, guys, your bias chart is done. I'm going to leave it at that, and let's go into some of your questions. So going way back to earlier.